Their final transaction.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We've come a long way in the year since I first gave this class. We're going to talk today about IFAK. We're going to talk about what Fred's dubbed, and we're going to use the Comfort First Aid Kit and then Combat Lifesaver equipment. The equipment that I carry fills the back of my truck, and you don't need that much. Trust me, you don't need that much. Just ask my son. I'll convince you we do not need that much. What I have here is an Army issued IFAK, an Improv IFAK, and one that Eileen has made. The IFAKs, as we see them, I just talked with Josh. He's going to run it up to regiment if we have to run things up to regiment. Regiment had originally said that the IFAKs go on the opposite side of your dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, they would go here. If you're left-handed, they would go here. Josh has talked with people or thought about it, and I guess you guys are going to put your dump pouch on your non-dominant side. So he wants the IFAK right behind your weapon on the dominant side, so that we know where to put it. So that's the latest that I've heard. I just heard that out today. An IFAK is for trauma. It is for basically gunshot wounds. It's not something where you're going to carry a splint or anything like that. It's treating hemorrhage. Gunshot wounds. Bad stuff. The Army's in it. It's bungeed to the sack. As we said in the Combat Lifesaver course, things will jump away from you. They'll go out of your reach. So the bungee's a really nice idea. They have their tape tied in. I don't know how you get it out if you have one hand. Everything that I put in here was very interesting stuff in it with one hand. It was hard to do with two hands. Nasal, pharyngeal, airway gets stuck down your nose. It's usually not what you do to yourself. Who knows what the purpose of an IFAK is?
To save your life.
Who saves your life? Yourself?
Or someone else.
And so the better equipment that you have, it's not something that you would break open to treat somebody else. It's going to treat you. So you really want to have whatever you are most comfortable with and whatever you choose to be able to spend the money on. This one, new. You see them online for $100 and up. We've acquired them for a lot less, to say the least. They're sometimes 40, sometimes 50 bucks the way it sits right now. Sometimes it has a decompression needle in it, sometimes it doesn't when I get them. They're basically, let's just say that they are surplus. So this is what someone is going to treat you with. Nasal, pharyngeal, airway. Anybody know? You priced everything out, right? Pretty much. Do you know what these go for?
I think it was like $8 or $9 on Amazon.
So if you go to the gun show, you're probably looking at 10 plus. You could probably try some medical supplies. You can try the Amazons. This is a combat dressing, and it's hermetically sealed in here. It has a notch on it, so it's got to open up relatively easy, and it comes it's a zigzag dressing. That is basically a Curl-X. We've talked about Curl-X before. That is folded like this, and then has all the life sucked out of it and is sealed. It's very absorbent. It's easily packed.
Go ahead.
It can be used right on the wound, or if you need to, you can secure it around the wound. But it's basically to go in to stop bleeding. Like the finger in the dike in the story of Hans Christian Andersen. You want to put enough pressure against the capillaries, veins, and arteries to hopefully staunch the blood bleeding. It has gloves in it. Do they use the gloves? Okay, that's what I thought. So this is probably unnecessary. It was a stinker to stick in there, but they put them in there. Some of the kits put cute ones. They're black and they're already rolled up. And this has got to be a stinker to get into. One thing that happens with, these are probably non-latex gloves, they tend to cook and pack in there. In a combat situation, in an emergency situation, I would think, and being a nurse of the old school days, the first thing I do is not think of putting on gloves. Gloves don't protect you, gloves protect me. I'm probably filthy anyway. I might or might not already have your blood on me anyway. They're slippery and you can't feel, but we have them in there. This little package here is the handy thing. Who was here when we went out to Rainbow and Dale gave his course? This is a 4-inch version of this. Anybody know what this is?
Israeli bandage.
Okay. An Israeli bandage is a crossbreed between a dressing, a tourniquet, and an ace, so that you have multiple ways of applying pressure. Pressure, same thing as this, to stop the bleeding. Can you demonstrate? Eileen is a combat lifesaver. She's one of our instructors for our next course. Strongly recommend, not in the second mandatory, that you take the combat lifesaver course, because it is a basic treatment of a hemorrhage. A little bit on splinting, a little bit on carrying, and a lot on don't stop firing and don't go rescue anybody until you're safe. So it wraps around, and the ace part of it provides the tension, and then the key on top of it can be used 2 different ways. It can either be used to pull it down over top, or they actually say crank it also.
Is this the one we used in class?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you have no circulation.
I can feel it going numb, but that's cool. This is the demonstration, right?
There you go. It is effective. So that's the big gray dressing. This brown, army brown, I guess it is, piece of equipment is a triangular dressing. You might have seen them and or bought them. These are just what it looks
This
like.
one's been
I guess
stretched.
you could
time.
use it to help filter water too. But it's kind of
I'm holding this one.
thin.
Start a fire, toilet paper.
These are the ones that usually go at the store for $3 or $4. With something like this, you can use it as a tourniquet, you can use it as a dressing,
get the bandage
you
out.
can use it as a sling.
Yeah.
It has
Yeah.
multiple purposes.
Yeah. There you
And it's cheesy. The other kind are made up a little bit better. You can make these out of your sheets.
Cravat.
go. Here's a bandana.
Back before Velcro, this is how we tied you onto a backboard. Between these and seat belts, we can do anything with a cravat. You all call them a triangle dressing. I call it's a cravat. Again, you can make the sling out of it. Cravat, cravat, potato, potato, depends. And here's a man who has actually been up to his elbows in it. But how about the tourniquet? I still think that the tourniquet, that's...
I love the tourniquet.
I love the tourniquet. The Israeli, anything that's you're going to roll, you can lose. It shoots out of your hand if you're not practiced with it. This, you can wrap it around a couple times and tie it off. It's kind of old school. We've come a long way, baby, but sometimes the old ways are still good ways. As you can see, there's not a lot of room in this one. There are not a lot of dressing materials. There's no 4x4s. You notice there's nothing to clean with because you're not cleaning. You're staunching. You're stopping the bleeding. And then one of the nicest inventions on the outside. This one is actually a soft tourniquet. Do you have a preference between the cat or the soft?
Everyone's gonna save my life.
Whichever one you have is the best one to do. This is what is called the cat tourniquet. It is a Velcroed device. Has a cute little white tape on it. Some do, some don't. Some do or some don't have a red tip. It doesn't matter. They work. That's the only thing that's important. A tourniquet goes around. And then it Velcros onto itself. This area, it's above. 3 fingers minimum above. And then it has this cute little key that you turn and you turn until you... You want me to go? Okay.
Oh no.
Say when.
When?
Okay. I always say, for us in practicing, go one step past oh my. You slip it in the little handle, you cover it, and you write the time the tourniquet went on at that point.
Jenny, is it possible to make it too tight or no?
Nope.
To make a what?
Too tight.
What's the reason for the time?
Well, after
6. Yeah.
you have 6 hours before the limb is not salvageable. You have 6 hours before releasing. If you release it after 6 hours, all the toxins. When a limb is not viable, it means it's dead. And it tends to go bad very quickly. If you leave a piece of meat, a piece of meat out in the sun for 6 hours, it's going to go bad quickly. If you do not have a blood supply to a limb after 6 hours, they can't. There's too much death done in the tissues that to release it into the rest of your body is going to make a mess of the rest of the body. And at that point, they're just going to take it off. We used to be of the school where you put a tourniquet on, you put it on for 15 minutes, you release it, you put it back on. In a combat situation, if you're putting it on yourself, you're probably going to be doing it, if it's an upper extremity, with one hand. You're probably going to be under fire while you're trying to get it on. And you're going to be a little panicked because you just lost part of your leg. Or
So after 15 minutes, you release it for how
no,
long?
that's the old school.
Oh.
These go on and they stay on.
Okay.
And hopefully somebody gets you out before 6 hours.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother kettle of fish. So, this is an apparatus that you carry, and the expectation of the combat lifesaver and the expectation of your medic is if you are shot under fire, you put it on yourself. Because we are not running to you. We are not the movies. In the movies, the medic just dashes out between bullets and you never get shot, and never anything happens, and they treat you right there with bullets flying all around them. But I remember as a kid, way back in the day when we were still fighting the Germans, they used to say that the enemy used to try to shoot the medics.
I think it's injured.
Still? Or do they wear, they used to wear the stupid white circle with the red cross on their helmets. No more. That's like saying, hi, shoot me. It's
They
like,
carry a really big backpack. Really big backpack.
yeah.
And other than that, you can't really tell them from the other soldiers. They have a rifle, like everybody else.
it's probably 65 plus whatever they need for their guns.
Really big backpack.
Yeah. They're carrying IVs, they're carrying multiples. This is a combat lifesaver. This is not even the medic, what the medic carries. And this is tad heavy. So I wouldn't want to go anywhere with that if I didn't have to go too far. Anyway, so you have a tourniquet. It's still in the plastic like this one. You get shot, we go out shooting at the range and somebody gets shot or you get shot, and it's still in the plastic because you didn't want to get it dirty. So now you're shot, you're trying to find your IFAK, you're trying to find your tourniquet, you're trying to take it out of a piece of plastic, and then you're trying to apply it. So I advocate that it is in your bag, ready to go. I would put it like this, would be my preference, so that you could get it up an arm, one-handed, because getting it around
Going through a loop.
and in, and someone's shooting at you, and first sergeant's watching you. Do you see what I mean? Have it ready. If it's ready on your pack, and if it's a lower extremity, and you're going to end up putting it up high. Because if you've been shot and if you are still under fire, chances are you should be hunkering down just a tad and put it up real high. Its purpose is to stop the bleeding. Don't assess your wound, just put it on. If you're shot in the leg, put it the heck on. Don't worry about if it's high or if
Then
it's
suck it
not.
up and drive on. Go kill that fucker.
And then return fire at that point. In the Combat Lifesaver book, everything, at the end of every sentence practically, you're going to find, and return fire. So, it doesn't end. So the tourniquet you will put on yourself. You don't worry, that's why there's no gauze, bandages or stuff. Don't worry about trying to put a dressing on. Stop the blood. Somebody will try to get to you. Once it's safe, they will get to you to a safe place, and then they will reassess you. I'm not going to go into anything that the Combat Lifesaver would do, because that is a 2-day course, or it is you study your butt off for a month and then show up and it's 9 hours of practical, where we go over putting it on yourself, putting it on one-handed, two-handed, putting it on somebody else. Meanwhile, you have Dale or some other person yelling at you that you're under fire. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? So, variations. So, anybody own their own cat tourniquet? Okay. Whose is still in the plastic?
Really?
All right, so are you
Could you raise your
suggesting
hand for
now to
Sergeant?
keep that in the IFAK rather than right here, where we were?
I haven't gotten to the point where we recommend that you wear two.
Okay. Okay.
The IFAK, definitely what I, as your buddy, am going to treat you. I, as a combat lifesaver, would prefer not to use all of my equipment up on you, and I hope you have your crap. Because my individual is going to be used for me. This is going to be used for other people with multiple casualties, possibly. But I'm going to look for yours first. Plus, you are going to treat yourself to begin with. You're going to get the tourniquet on. But if you've never touched your tourniquet and it's in a bag and it's got the soft tourniquet, the soft ones, have 2 rubber bands around them. Not 1, 2. And they were very tight. So now you're gnawing at something to try to get it off. This is the black rubber band that goes around. This is supposed to be more advanced. It's what a company did after they invented the cat tourniquet. To steal anybody's design, you have to change 6 things. So they made it different. This one being called soft. The toggle, it's longer, it's metal. Where the cat is plastic. This doesn't have the Velcro all around it. It goes, then you have to adjust it here, and then you have to hook it here, and then you pull it here, and then you tighten it. I don't like these. These are more expensive. These are $35 and $40 at the gun shows and online sometimes. And after messing with them, I don't like it. Velcro's easier.
I was just going to ask, obviously, you can't use a tourniquet if you're shot on your body.
Nope.
So
You know what you are if you're shot on your
I
body?
don't know if this is, I was going to advance or if you were going to cover it.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I'm
So
not.
you would use that
This
stuff?
is IFAK.
You would use that stuff depending how, you know.
I'm not going to teach you that.
Okay.
You're not going to treat yourself if you're shot in the chest more than likely.
You're dead.
You're probably going to be dead. You can take whatever you have in your IFAK and stuff it in your wound. These are very big arteries and veins. The lifespan on anything here in bleeding is not long. From here down, it's a little longer, but it's not anything that you would probably be in the condition to treat yourself. Individual first aid kit is something that you either treat yourself with or the first person that gets to you is going to treat you with. And if you have nothing from here down, they're going to talk to you.
What do you think about quick clot?
In true hemorrhagic emergency, it is better than dying. It can get hot. It cannot stop getting hot. It can destroy tissue. I don't know that. I would use my tourniquet first. I would never use quick clot first. Tourniquet first. You're shot. You're down. We're under fire. You're not assessing. Is it arterial? Is it venous? You don't even know. It might be a through-to-through on your calf. You don't know what it is. You might not have anything from the knee down. You might not have much at all. You're not going to necessarily register that. Put the tourniquet on. Just put the tourniquet on. Don't think. Muscle memory. And then you are literally going to put the tourniquet on and you're going to be expected to return fire. Yes, Scott.
In the CLS book,
We're not teaching anything from the CLS.
no,
book
it has
now.
to do with tourniquets. It shows a guy that got both legs blown off just below the knee.
Yeah, in
and
color.
And they improvised 2 tourniquets, whether it was with cravats and sticks, that literally, and it saved the guy's life. The picture was taken when he was in surgery. But again, improvising 2 tourniquets just above the knee, they saved the guy's life.
But in an IFAK, you will not be putting on 2 tourniquets on yourself, more than likely. What we are advocating is a holder for a tourniquet on your non-dominant side. Again, you can see that these are interesting to get into their hidey holes. And even more interesting to get out. That's why I'm going to give you the secret. Now, most of the pictures you see at most of the $35 and $40 tourniquet holders in multicam are shown right here. That means you have to pull it up. You have to get this sucker out. Put it on upside down. Gravity, gravity. and this will be on there. And it'll still stick. So upside down, gravity, gravity, right here. We advocate 2. The reason being is when somebody gets to you after if you put on a tourniquet, a combat lifesaver is going to come to you and they are going to assess the injury once it is safe. At that point, we are trained to put a second tourniquet on you. Say, if it's here, you might get it here. We're going to adjust it in the best position. Have it ready. And then I'm going to come and I'm going to loosen this one. If I see, I'm tightening it. I'm going to tighten that sucker back up and let that time stand. But maybe it's arterial. Not arterial, maybe it's venous. What's the difference between venous and arterial? Venous is not going to spurt. Venous ooze. Might ooze quickly if it's a big vein, but there's no pulse on a vein. There's only pulse on an artery. So if it's going like this, and they do, tighten that tourniquet back up, tighten them both up. The combat lifesaver will also adjust it more advantageously. We're going to have 2 hands to do it, and it will go on in a way that doesn't have as much dirt and grime and twigs and rocks or whatever you've managed to shove in it. So you're wearing one here, you're wearing one here, and you have this. So basically this one will eventually just treat you. But then say you don't have, what's the cheapest we found these? 12 bucks?
I think I found them on eBay for, it was either 10 or 12.
Okay, and how many were available?
At that time, I think I was able to get, I was buying them at 10 at a time. I was getting them 10 at a time at that time. Yeah.
If you are very lucky, you can get them for 10 bucks. If you are very unlucky, you can get them for $30, $35. If you have to go to the manufacturer or to the gun show or anything. So look online. Like I said, I got this for 40 bucks. And it has a tourniquet, it had a quick clot, it has an Israeli, it has a nasal pharyngeal, and it has a cute little bag that it's bungeed to. Damn. So is it ACU and we're multi-cam personalities? That's why I wore my ACU today, because all my acquired stuff is ACU. Does it matter what color it is? If it's 40 bucks and it's got $65 worth of equipment in it, it's a deal. You can always put your lunch in this and put this in your own IFAK. If you don't like that configuration. I find it tight. I would like a few more things in my son's. So he has a slightly bigger one. Like I said, 40, 45 bucks, you can't beat that one with the brick. Figuring you've got this, if you get it on a deal, 10. This, if you get it on a deal, 6. This is, say, 10. Tape, pennies if you can find it, $2 if you're at the store. It still averages out. I've even gotten them with the needles in them. And that on sale, if you can find them, is $11. I think any port in a storm you can get them. And that is what's in an IFAK. The other thing that you should have in your IFAK is a trauma card. Your trauma card you should fill out with your name, not the date. I would put any emergency information on it, because if your emergency card is like mine is right now, that I finally have one, and it's not in plastic, and you're shot in other areas, or you're shot in the arm and it's bled all over, it could not be legible. So have one of these, fold it in half, in a Ziploc bag, in your IFAK. And when you have that Ziploc bag, do you know what you have then? You have a sucking chest wound dressing that you can tape down someone else can tape down on you. Because if you have a sucking chest wound, dollars to donuts, you're not doing that yourself either. One of the IFAKs came with this little roll of duct tape. Again, it's not anything you're probably going to use on yourself. Oh, the tip is prepared so it's non-stick, so it will actually unravel. And this, if you can get something just a little bit dry, this will stick. A lot of tapes aren't going to stick if it's too wet, if you've gone too cheap. Paper tape should never be in your IFAKs. Paper tape are good for wound care in a hospital situation, but they're kind of useless for anything else because they do and they don't stick. They do very strange things ripping at times. Where your plastic tape or your silk, this is called silk tape, will usually rip right on its bias, and it's a done deal. So this is an IFAK that I just got my fingers on, and I loaded it up last night instead of sleeping. I have the plastic tape, also called Metapore, also called waterproof, depending on if you're buying it from a medical shop or a pharmacy like CVS or not. I have a triangle in it. I have the H&H, which is the Z-folded dressing. I have Quick Clot in here. I got an Israeli. I have a larger dressing called an H, and it's a bigger, bulkier dressing that has something to wrap around with it. It's a one-piece, like the Israeli, but not elastic. I got an Airway, and in here I would put a sucking chest wound dressing, and I would put a decompression needle. I also have, as you can see, a pair of decent scissors. This brand is called a Magnum, and I've looked at a lot of scissors here that we've gotten. They don't bend badly, and they're pretty tight. These kits that we've gotten all come with the scissors on a bungee, so that when I have a rig, this will be on a rig. I posted it online, Majors. We went over to Majors right after our Combat Lifesaver course, Scott and I, and we showed them the cat. We wanted them to buy some cats so we could buy them cheap. You can't get them cheaper than what we can get. But what they did do is Leo sat down and we talked with Scott, and he developed a holder that is affordable, and he added a pair of scissors to it. So it'll have a pair of combat scissors and a tourniquet here. And it's affordable. Even retail, it is way cheaper than anything that you're going to get online. Because like I said, I've seen them for $35. And that was the start. They're going to come, they're not in yet. They're not going to be in until at least March 19th. They'll be in OD, Coyote, black, and red. No multi-cam, but when I went back last week and talked to Mike, he said, why doesn't it come in my multi-cam? And everybody kind of went, oh. And so I'm sure they're going to get it. Right now, he said that between Chinese New Year and the strike with the dock workers, the new book, none of the new stuff from the new book, the 15 book, is available yet. I tried to get a bag yesterday. I tried to get these. Don't have nothing.
Is that ours?
And Mike from Voodoo is going to try to bring his daughter and come to our Combat Lifesaver class. Cool. So I think that will be really neat that he learns to use the equipment that he sells to us. They also have some Cellulox, which is the next generation of the Quick Clot, which I believe the Cellulox does not require the surgery to remove. Quick Clot, it gets to be like cement, it binds with your wound, and it'll have to be cut out. It's nothing that we can take out without a knife at this particular point. We also have here Eileen's IFAK. She's got her black scissors, and you see they don't then I'm not going to give you hers to look at, but I'll pass you there. When you guys can come up here eventually. What's this? What's this stuff? Ooh, it's roll gauze.
Yeah.
That's roll gauze. That's cute. And she has a triangle. She's got an Israeli. She's got her plastic tape. She's got a decompression needle. She has some topical analgesic. She's got her cards. This is just one. She's got a little bag of duct tape. She's got multiple cards here.
Yeah.
This is another thing that I have to add. Magic marker. Why would you have a magic marker in your IFAK?
Well,
Right on anything.
put the time on your tourniquet. For what?
Put the time on your tourniquet, and once
on
you
the
put a
forehead.
tourniquet on, you can write it in their blood, but if they're going to go into shock, they're going to get cold and clammy and wet, and it could come off.
I put it together.
So what you do is when you put a tourniquet on,
I ordered
you
them.
put a
I got
T
the card.
right on their forehead. And you never, ever, ever cover the tourniquet up. If they're going into shock, you try to put it around it, but you really try not to cover it up with anything else, particularly not another dressing. She's got the quick clot stop bleeding. This is a nice big one, might have the wrap on it. It's
think it
nothing
does.
that we're going to
The
do.
list is on the back of it. What all's in there?
This is like the H dressing that I showed you, the big one. That's like the Israeli, but made out of gauze, but it's got quick clot with it. So that's neat. What that run?
I think that was $11.
There you go. Everything is $10, $11. And she has the high film chest seal. And it has a valve in it. And I will show you on the live one, because we're not going to open hers up. And that went for,
I think that was 15.
yeah.
I have another question, and I'm sorry if this is covered in the class. I
No,
haven't
that's
been
why
able to take it. Now, because you're not worried about being too clean and stuff, you're just trying to get that. I have saline in both my
No,
IFAK,
not
and
necessary.
so I don't need to have it in my IFAK. Okay, so I can at least take some room out. I mean, not much. 'Cause
No, but it'll give you another inch.
Okay.
She has her nasal here, and she has some steri strips, which are used like sutures. So some of this is going to be is added stuff, and it's perfectly fine. It's in there. She has her tourniquet on the outside of her cap,
Upside down.
upside down. How does it get mounted? You want to show us how it mounts on your rig, or just sit it against your body?
What do I have to do is pull this down to grab the cat.
I like your kit. Oh, well, I got a whole truck full of stuff here. I mean, my original IFAK is here, but I really don't need this much. This is more of my grab and go bag at this particular point. So if you have a problem. And she had one of the Z packs, the folding dressing stuff in the side. Awesome. You've heard of the chest seals. You might have heard about the chest seals. It's for the sucking chest wound, which means it's a gunshot that went through your skin and through the flora. Might or might not have taken out your lung. But for whatever reason it is, your lung has collapsed, or maybe you just have a wound here. How you can tell, it's obviously going to be here, or the same area on your back. You'll never have a sucking chest wound on your leg. There's nothing sucking in that wound. The wound will bubble. The wound will throb. The blood will bubble up. And it might or might not. It can bubble up with such ferocity that it gets a little whitish. So, different any chest seal that you get, if you have a baggie and duct tape, that's good. How's a baggie and duct tape work? Baggie, wound, tape, like a window, like a picture frame around it. And once the lung depressurizes and sucks basically the air that's in here out, then it's sealed. It is sealed. Trust me, that it's sealed at that particular point.
Even
If you,
those things come in.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, well, all of these are plastic.
So we can use this side of it.
This is plasticky. You can feel. This is plasticky, but this is what's called the valve. And you would put the valve right over the hole. And it's a one-way valve. And the reason is you don't want the lung, doesn't matter if the air is pushed out. You don't want air sucked in through the body into the cavity, and then it will collapse your lung due to pressure issues. So this is a kind, it's called the BCS, or Bolin chest seal. It has 3. The one that Eileen has had 1. This has none. It's just a piece of very heavy duty sticky plastic. Anybody here have elderly parents? Does your mother have any wounds? Old people get bony on their prominences, their butt, their hips, their heels, their elbows get bony, and the nurses will put a thing on it called duoderm or hydrocolloid. It's a flesh-colored dressing, and it's a lot cheaper than these, and I think it'll work too.
But it peels off old skin.
Who cares if you have a sucking chest wound? Who cares if you have a sucking chest wound? If the duoderm shouldn't, right now what we're doing with wound care is we're putting a foam over the particular wound bed, assuming you don't put a duoderm over anything over a stage 2 anyway. So we're putting a piece of foam under the hydrocolloid and then covering it with less thick clear. And it just depends. If it's left on too long, it cooks on your skin. And this type of stuff in emergency medicine, it's not going to be on you long enough to cook. If it is on long enough to cook, you're going to want it stuck real good anyway. Now in this chest tube bag, they give you a 4x4. Who would guess why there's a 4x4?
Prevent it from sticking on the actual wound.
To dry the blood off, because it's bloody, it's wet, very little sticks to wet. So you're going to put your thumb or some other material that you have over the hole that's bleeding. You're going to dry around it, and you're literally going to semi-smack this on. It's going to be a controlled smack. Most people that are going to be putting this on a person will have done it on something. Again, it's all muscle memory. A cheaper kind that we also got our fingers on is that. And if you've seen Duoderm, the new thin style, that's what this feels like to me. Thick, yucky thing. But it's made to stick entirely. Again, it comes with a gauze. And you can see, if you put this under it, it's bigger than it, and you want, say you were obsessed to put something over the wound, you would want at least that much of a border when you're picture framing something. So your best bet is to dry it and stick it on, because it will allow the lung to regain its natural, the lung in the cavity, its natural pressure, and it can prevent a lung from collapsing. When lungs collapse, it's bad enough that the injured side has collapsed, but if you don't get the pressure under control, it will collapse the other lung. So if one lung's not working, we're going to watch you. It's dangerous. But if both lungs are collapsed, it's a bigger problem. It's a way bigger problem. So that's really why we want to put that on it. And that is what's in your IFAK. The other thing that we're going to talk about today is your Comfort First Aid Kit. Your Comfort First Aid Kit is what goes in your bag, what sits in your car. It treats boo-boos, ooies, and owies. It's your band. I got an ice in this one. You can see, you've all seen this one at Walmart, right? They sell this one at Walmart. I thought it was cute. I bought it. This is the first aid kit I bought the boys. And in it, I did my 99-cent store. It's got gold-bound powder for anything that's wet that should be dry, and it'll stop it from itching. You all know what parts of your body they usually are. Your feet, right? It's got normal saline in it, which can wash out an eye, it can wash out a wound, it can wash anything. I got Carmax. I've got suntan lotion, which actually is the only medication that I've given out today. It's got some triple antibiotic ointment in it. Triple antibiotic, Neosporin, bacitracin, whatever you get your fingers on is good. I've got a tensor gauze called the Coban. I have a roll gauze. I have the ever popular pad because it's a gauze absorbent dressing all wrapped up. I've got more anti-itching medication. I have an ACE wrap. I have sugar. Because I like sugar? No, because some people, even if you're not a diabetic, you'll find your blood sugar goes down and down and down. And I've got something to get it up until food can be consumed. I've got some finger bandages. I've got some wet ones that they're antibacterial, so they can wipe anything you need to wipe. And before it can storm, as you guys know, as you crawl out on the hill. I have some tape that's called waterproof. It's the old-fashioned tape that our mothers used. Yep. This is all we used to have. And then we went into the other times that they invented better. The other thing that I would add into this one is I would throw some salt packets from McDonald's or whatever your food of choice is. I finally read up. I say no, 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 and then I read and I say, well, okay. So I had Imogene. Imogene is our 79-year-old nurse with the B company. She's trained with us a couple of times. She graduated nursing school before I was in high school. She also did 20 years in the Army before, in the Air Force before that, as she said she was a spook, so whatever that meant. Worked intelligence is another phrase she'll use, but she doesn't talk about that. She said that they gave salt tablets. I've been given lectures, I've had class, no, no, no salt tablets. Well, just as something used to be done 50 years ago, and then they said don't eat it, like the meat. They told us don't eat meat. Now they came out this week and said, go ahead, eat meat. It doesn't raise your cholesterol. So they're back to that. Anybody that's been here longer than 6 months remembers when we had a lot of people going down with heat issues, dehydration and heat issues. And they were guzzling the water. But when you sweat, you notice how you get that dry film on you? If you lick it, well anyway, when you were kids you probably tasted it, and it's salty. We lose sodium and we can lose potassium through our skin. So when you dehydrate and then you just hydrate with plain water that's been filtered 92 times, it's zero water. It doesn't have a mineral in it, it doesn't have a salt in it, it doesn't have anything, but it's wet. You need to replace your salts. And we had a guy at the, I call it the Crunchy at FTX, where we did the night ops. One of the guys came in, he was obviously dehydrated. She poured some salt in his hand and said, eat it. And he just licked it, and within minutes he was feeling better. Because when you dilute, you're low on sodium, and then you dilute it more, you're low. You're just as low, if not lower. And it will not hurt you. It will not give you high blood pressure to take a hit of salt. It's like if your blood sugar is down, if you're a diabetic, we give you sweets because high blood sugar will kill you over a long term. Low blood sugar will kill you very rapidly, hours. Where the high blood sugar, even if you walk into the hospital 6, 7, 8, 1200, we have a lot longer time to bring that down. And we actually would never bring you down from 12 or 8 to normal. We're going to take you a half and a half and a half because we don't know how long you've been high. And dropping you down to normal is not going to be normal for your body, because maybe normal for your body, well, maybe you were running 450 every day and doing good. And then you'd go up for whatever reason, an infection or another. So if we bring you down too low for your body, you will have the same hypoglycemic. So I want you to have sugars that's not going to melt. Don't use chocolate. It's good, but it will be a mess all over your bag. So something sweet, even if it's the packets of sugar. Get that in you, get it in an unconscious person. Everybody, stick out your tongue and then look at your neighbor. Look under their tongues. Lift your tongue up. Look at his tongue. Now show him your tongue. Underneath here, all you see are veins and arteries, and they're permeable there. That's where we give your nitroglycerin. We can put salt right there, and you will get enough in you to survive until I can get it in you some other how. At least into your conscious so I can shove it down your throat. So, in here is where you put your Tylenol, your Advil, whatever your drug of choice is. In here you'd put your heart medicine, your blood sugar medicine, your EpiPen. I might carry my EpiPen in my IFAK if it was for me, because then I could get it very quickly and then I could treat me. I personally don't need to carry an EpiPen, but I do have one thanks to someone here, so we're good.
Question. You could still use an EpiPen even if it's after the expiration date. It might not be as strong.
Better than nothing.
Right, okay.
I hate to say that, and I say it all the time. Sometimes the stuff we get dirt cheap is expired. Well, God bless you, you got the full price. Go buy it full price, go buy it with a long shelf life. But something is better than nothing. Half the quick clotting ability is better than no quick clotting ability. Half the strength of the Epi, which doesn't have to be refrigerated anymore, thank God, is better than nothing. I'm not saying go buy medications necessarily that are outdated, but the reason, as a nurse, I have to tell you, take all your meds, and then when the bottle says its expiration date, then throw them out. However, if you notice, the bottle has an expiration date that's usually related to your prescription. So it might have been sitting in that bottle that the pharmacist took it out of for God knows when. So an expiration date means that the manufacturers will no longer guarantee its full potency. If a chest seal dressing is expired, does that mean you need to throw it out? If you want to throw it out, just throw it right here on this table. I will dispose of them for you gladly, and then I will have more to practice on in our course. If you can get new and you can have all new, you do all new. We don't necessarily eat canned goods that are old, but if they're not popped and you're hungry, what you'll do is your expired ones you'll give to the food bank. And then somebody else will eat them as long as they're not popped. So expiration dates are what they are. Yeah, everything's flexible. And if we get to the condition that there's no more to be had, like right now, there's no more tourniquet holders to be had because the ship is sitting off the coast. And you can't get any flown in because they're on Chinese New Year. So he was not pleased, to say the least. In my original IFAK, I had a lot more. If you want to carry a thermometer, if you know how to use a blood pressure cuff and a stethoscope, you can have that in your individual. That in your individual one, this is a comfort, Band-Aids, boo-boos, ooey and owie. Most of us, I'm sure, would imagine we will stop at an auto accident or something, and then you'll need bigger quantities of bigger things. And that's where you get into your car bag, which has multiple sealed stuff. I have little stretchies, so if you guys get a boo-boo, I can put this on and it'll hold it on your leg. But that's not emergent. That's once you come to me here and I can treat you. Nose blood stuff, more duct tape. This was to be an injury. Your little blankets. This might be something that you have in your battle bag anyway. But if somebody gets hurt, has a heart attack, breaks an ankle, you know they all start shaking and getting cold and clammy and everything. And a blanket is good. I have earplugs in case any of you couldn't shoot without your earplugs. Pen lights. But then again, if you don't know what to do with it, you don't need it. And if you do know what to do with it, but you don't know what it means, you don't need it either. But I have them because I do. I got this at Walmart. These are, did anybody read the articles about the new blood stopping device that they're sending out to the military? They're sending out memory foam in the size of a shotgun shell. And it's covered with plastic. In the hospital we have what are called water bags. It's a dissolvable bag so that we don't have to touch the linen and put it in the anything, and then it doesn't have to be taken out and put into a washing machine. It's the whole bag just goes into the washing machine and dissolves. So what they're doing is they're putting this memory foam in that.
Like makeup widgets.
Yeah.
They are. That's exactly what they were. That's what I got at Walmart.
It's a square tampon, right?
Ooh, I never put anything like that. Never mind. That's gross. But it's a foam.
But you said about putting tampons in wounds, you could put this in a wound the same way.
Yeah,
Is that what it is?
exactly.
For makeup.
Yeah, that's all it was. It was in the makeup department. And it's a very dense foam. Now, they just did on the Combat Lifesavers, California Medical, they were discussing, there's some men that don't like the idea of the tampons. Because the tampon absorbs the blood, and he felt that the tampon would just keep absorbing it till you were dead. Well, that was a man thinking. That was someone who had never had a tampon in use. Because at a point they stop absorbing.
Yeah.
Okay?
We all know that.
That's why they come in boxes.
And large quantities of them. So there's still pros on cons. If you think of it though, a tampon is just a rolled up piece of gauze that's rolled up tightly, not unlike this one is. So anything that you can do to staunch the blood. Who's a lone survivor? They put dirt in their wound. I've seen it recommended for animals that you put sugar on a wound. Anything that will cause the blood to either stop because of pressure or stop because it cramps up your arteries and veins. I guess it would work. Putting dirt inside, that was different, but at least it stopped them from losing more blood. And we have some really good antibiotics.
My mom, she did it to me, she did it to my daughters, and I don't know how it works, but it does work. I've seen it. My daughter my one daughter had a huge bump on her head. She fell off the bed when she was a baby, hit the tile floor, got a huge bump. My mom put sugar all over her forehead where she fell. Her bump was not as huge as, it should have been. It went down, it was like a golf ball on her head. And it went it down.
To say that what they used to do before they have all the modern junk that we have, to say that it's no good. Granted, they were old at 35 and dead at 50, but it worked. It's an old wives' tale, and it was done back in the day. If you had an abdominal injury, they gave you crushed up onions. A lot of crushed up onion juice. And then they would smell the dressings as they came off. And if they could smell the onion, then they knew it wasn't good, because they hadn't gotten all of it. Because people have been trying to repair their own injuries for quite some time, since we could think and since we could care. I was going to bring some fake blood out today, but I was afraid it would stain. It says it doesn't stain, but I need to test it on David's uniform. I want to test it on something multicam. I have a patch off of one of the British, and I'm going to saturate it and see if it comes clean before I ruin anybody's uniform, but it's coming.
Can we just wear like a t-shirt for the event and then just throw it on us?
I learned my lesson even. We would like to shoot you.
Nice.
We would like you to see something with blood clot, jello, blood, yuck. If I could reproduce the smell, I would have to buy hashish, because that's what it smells like to me. Dead blood. Blood gets stinky real fast. Blood congeals real. It's sickeningly sweet, heavy.
Metallic, isn't it?
Yes, if you've smelled it, you will know it.
If you smell it, you taste it.
Yeah.
You taste it in your mouth.
And it's not live blood like when you cut your finger and end up even going and get sutures. It's pretty much dead blood.
Bless you.
It definitely smells different. But I want you to see how a little bit of blood goes a very long way. A cup of blood will cover the hood of a Cadillac. A cup of blood. And we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, probably 13 to 1,500 milliliters of blood in our body. So that's 1.5 liters of blood in our body. And if that comes out, it's everywhere. Just one person's blood is everywhere.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
1.5 of these.
Yeah.
That's it?
One.
That's all the blood we have in us?
Yeah, the rest is bone.
And lots of organs and tissues
It
and
just always
muscle.
seems like so much.
That much blood.
But you spill that, you pour that over this table, it's going to go all over the table, it's going to saturate into here, it's going to drip over the side, and when it's blood, it causes, we have a natural aversion to seeing that much blood spilt. We should have a natural aversion to seeing that much blood spilt. But what it does is, until you see it, until you realize it can cause you to panic by the quantity, sheer quantity of the blood that's coming out and is everywhere. Not realizing that you have some time. You don't have a lot of time, but you do have some time. So we got to get past blood.